November 5th, 2024. Donald Trump defeats a divided and dispirited Democratic campaign.
Now that is a scary thought, but one that feels all too real given the current infighting in the Democratic Party. So today, we all need to take a cold, hard look at what exactly a potential catastrophic second Trump term would entail, and the very real ways Don Von Dictator and his loyalist lackeys could go about dismantling our democracy, our rights, and the American way of life. Welcome back to Really American, folks. I'm Kenny Hesse, and I am sorry to start that so starkly for you, but today I have for you another brutal anti-Trump ad from the Lincoln Project that really paints a disturbing and very accurate picture of what a second Trump presidency would look like. And it does so using concrete examples of things that Trump has already said he would do, or that are key tenets of the dystopian Project 2025. Which we will see a lot of in this video, because not only did I do a deep dive into the website itself to provide concrete examples of the talking points in the Lincoln Project ad, I also gave them my phone number in order to access the personnel application questionnaire to show you some of the ridiculous questions they ask. So let's run through this hypothetical scenario together that hopefully will remain as such, where Donald Trump wins in November, and break down not only what he would do to destroy this country, but also how he would go about it. And the Lincoln Project does this very adeptly to show you that this is anything but hyperbole, and in fact is all laid out on the Project 2025 website that even though Donald Trump claims he knows nothing about, we all know that is as big a load of BS as was in his diaper in court. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Unfortunately, he keeps his promises. Trump seizes control of a divided government, signing hundreds of executive orders implementing Project 2025. Trump replaces over 50,000 civil servants with hardline MAGA loyalists. The federal oath of office now requires declaring loyalty to the president, not the Constitution.
Yeah. A very real threat here is Project 2025's mandate for leadership, where they outline how they will take the reins of government, including managing the bureaucracy, or in their case, gutting it completely. Just look at this insane questionnaire where they ask if you agree with certain statements to try and weed out the non-Trump loyalists. Statements like, the permanent institutions of family and religion are foundational to American freedom and the common good. We should be proud of our American heritage and history even as we acknowledge our flaws. The president should be able to advance his or her agenda through the bureaucracy without hindrance from unelected federal officials. The federal government should recognize only two unchanging sexes, male and female, as a matter of policy. And the U.S. should impose tariffs with the goal of bringing back manufacturing jobs, even if these tariffs result in higher consumer prices. Now, who have we seen parroting those exact same talking points? Oh yeah, Agent Orange.
Protected by the Supreme Court's grant of total immunity for official acts, Donald Trump orders the Department of Justice to arrest members of the January 6th Commission, current and former DOJ employees, and political opponents for treason, election interference, and conspiracy. He declares it to be an official act. Trump ends birthright citizenship by executive order and turns millions of American-born citizens into illegal aliens overnight. Mass deportations begin. Hundreds of thousands, including legal U.S. residents and American citizens, are imprisoned in newly built camps.
Former President Donald Trump now pledging a sweeping immigration crackdown if he wins the White House again. Among his promises, mass deportations, ending birthright citizenship, and denying entry to legal immigrants based on their ideological beliefs.
Protests erupt. Trump addresses the nation from the Oval Office, invoking the Insurrection Act and declaring the protesters a danger to American sovereignty. He orders the National Guard to use deadly force to suppress the protests.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
In the wake of the bloody violence, Trump declares nationwide martial law, awarding himself new powers under the freshly signed American Sovereignty Protection Order. which defines protest of immigration policies as non-protected speech and a threat to national security. Governors in New York, California, Illinois, and elsewhere declare their opposition, promising to refuse compliance in their states. Trump orders their arrests. Trump pardons every January 6 attacker, including those who assaulted the police, and in a White House ceremony issues a new presidential medal honoring them. Many are given jobs in his administration. The Department of Education is renamed the Department of American Values and mandates a nationwide Christian nationalist curriculum for all schools receiving federal aid. Trump, joined by Speaker Mike Johnson and evangelical leaders, announces that the Department of Health and Human Services has reclassified mifepristone, making it illegal to distribute or prescribe, as well as new HHS regulations that make IVF treatments impossible to legally administer. Trump reverses one campaign promise by declaring a national abortion ban by executive order. Challenges to his authority are rejected by the Supreme Court, which has seen new appointments from Trump after it was expanded to 12 justices. He signs an executive order removing abortion records from HIPAA privacy regulations and announces a new federal data sharing program so states can monitor women's periods. Thousands are detained while crossing state lines under suspicion of seeking an abortion. Trump's acting Secretary of Defense, a disgraced ex-general, fires over 400 generals and admirals, leaving the military leaderless. Other Trump appointees purge the ranks of the CIA, FBI, and Department of Justice. By executive order, Trump withdraws the United States from NATO and ends Pentagon cooperation with Ukraine. Russian tanks enter Kyiv. Vladimir Zelensky is killed. It is announced that Trump will run for a third term, claiming he was unfairly cheated in the 2020 election. His Supreme Court ultimately agrees with this interpretation, paving the way for Trump's 2028 re-election. If you hear all this and believe it isn't possible, then ask yourself, what did you believe was impossible just 8 years ago? This isn't a fantasy. It's Trump's plan, and he's counting on you to believe it couldn't happen.
That dystopia is what we are up against. And Donald Trump, Project 2025, and its backers, the Heritage Foundation, have all of those plans laid out in that manifesto that we went through earlier. It is not a fantasy that will become reality if they are allowed to take the White House back in 2025. And frankly, that is just the tip of the iceberg of what we will see happen. And it will happen quickly. They say themselves the time is short and conservatives need a plan, and they offer a 180-day playbook to, quote, bring quick relief to Americans suffering from the left's devastating policies. You know, like the CHIPS Act, the Build Back Better, Infrastructure, Inflation Reduction Act. That to these fascist lunatics is bad policy. So certain unnamed Democrats really ought to take a look in the mirror and stop complaining about Joe Biden's age when he says he's not going to step down. And the media should start talking about this every single day, because fighting against fascism, is what this election is truly about in November. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We greatly appreciate your support, and we could not be ringing these alarm bells as loud as we are without you. As always, our Patreon link is in the description down below if you'd like to support further. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.